Welcome to the Renegade Society radio show this week. I am Sarah Erickson, and we're going to be talking about solo games today. I'm very excited, and so we invited Jeremy Howard to join us because I hear that you might like solo games. Is that right, Jeremy?
I thought we were talking about heavy 4-player games only. What are we doing here?
I mean, we could talk about that too.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We can quietly excuse those people out and make sure they have some of the wonderful refreshments in the other room. It's going to be just me at this table. We don't want to have three too many. We want to have just this one.
Three too many. I mean, I live in Montana and there really aren't a lot of people here. So having the idea of solo games is really appealing to me since I don't have any friends here in Montana to play games with me right now. And all of my friends are out there in the world doing things that are not going to conventions right now where I usually play all my games together. So seems very appropriate.
I love playing solo games just as much as everybody else. I mean, I love playing with everybody just as much as everybody else. I do. I really do. I look forward to it. I miss my game night crew. I really do. I miss them quite a bit. And, but I mean, I love solo games. It's like it works for me. Like it really, really works for me. So I have like the ability to play games and not have to wait on anybody, which is great. You know, there's nothing worse than looking at a game like Godspeed and not being able to play it. You know, like I really want to play that game, but I don't have, I don't have the players. But like, it's great to have a whole bunch of boxes around you that you can just go, you know what, I'll just play this. Let's just do it. You know, sit it down, play it, enjoy it. Let's do it. And I have that full experience for me, at least. So yeah.
Well, I think it's really interesting because as far as solo games go, I've been playing solo games my whole life because I love video games. And I grew up with my Game Boy in my hand, avoiding all of my annoying siblings.
Yeah, okay.
And that's just a solo game, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that solo games are just now catching on in board games because it seems like a really obvious thing to me that would be fun for people. I'm the daughter of a librarian. My mom spends most of her time sitting alone next to a heater vent reading a book.
Yeah, but they also
their solo experience.
Think about it though. There's like plenty of games that we play solo. Like even like on people's phone, they play. Like I always tell people, like you play board games. You actually play versions of board games when you play like Candy Crush. You play, you play crossword puzzles. That's a game. The same thing. It's like we do a lot of those things by ourselves all the time. But when it comes to the modern board games, we often go, why would I ever play without people? I'll do it just to learn. Like, come on, man. Like, hey, if you play most Euros, you're actually playing solitaire times 4. Okay, like you're really not doing much with everybody else. You're just kind of hanging out and putting meeples in different spots and grabbing resources and turning them in. Like, I feel like there's a lot of games that are like that, and why people are defending, the solo thing. But honestly, I played like that when I was a kid. I was by myself. I was a solo kid. I was the only child. So since I was the only child, I played a lot of games because I like board games. I like to play jacks. I like to play like Candyland, and I didn't have anybody, so I would just play by myself.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I thought that was fun. I had to because there was nobody there. But I would play 2-player, 3-player, and just kind of have fun and try something different, try something new, and that's kind of how I think it evolved.
When you started playing as a kid and you had a 4-player game on the table, did you run around to every seat at the different on the table and play each different side?
Yeah, different hats, silly characters, whatever. Just irritate. You gotta entertain yourself. You by yourself. I didn't have a pet growing up.
Oh, so
like I didn't have none of that. Like we didn't have none of that. If I had a dog, I wouldn't have a hot dog. Like I gotta have a hot dog.
Oh no. So do you think that helped you?
I'm just saying, like that's how it was. It's like that's extra food. I wouldn't have my food.
Yeah.
I'd be like, eat the hot dog, man. I love you.
As long as you're not eating the dog, I'm happy with that.
Not eating the dog. Yeah. Give me your ankle. No. Give me your ankle. whatever. Yeah, like it just I would play a lot by myself, or as I always say, man, like Jax is a game. It's a it's a dexterity game. I love to play that game, but yeah, it was always in me. I realized it was always in me. Like I learning to play chess by myself, Stratego, those types of things. Just learning the games, but also just enjoying them. Still, just as somehow internally, I feel like I was still enjoying them, without people. But modern board games different. It was a little bit of a different thing.
Well, I do think that a lot of people are drawn to modern board games because of the social aspect of it. But
Yeah,
I think the other reason why people like board games is because of that mental agility that you gain
yeah,
by playing a board game that's different than passively watching a TV show. And even for a lot of video games, I feel like a lot of the things you're doing are very repetitive or not very
yes,
interesting in
yes,
modern video games, whereas board games are always challenging you. And I find that very interesting and exciting, whether
yeah,
it's a solo game or a four-person heavy modern board game or Euro game. Either way, you're still be mentally challenged. And that's
yeah.
something that I really enjoy about board games.
The reason why is because, well, let me try to get games, and then let me try to get video games and then games here. So like video games are different because now they've really pushed hard on narrative, so that you're having this experience. But in practice, like you're kind of doing the same thing, and it's almost like in a board game where you find like this little kind of like thing you can spam real quick. You can like, oh my god, I could just keep doing this and it works. The kelp strategy works. The jade strategy works, right? Well, you can in this in a board, and I'm sorry, in a video game. Sometimes it's like that, but there's just only a certain amount of things you can do, and they're just trying to present maybe a little wrinkle in that. Whereas board games, I mean, like you can. There's so many different ways to play certain board games. There's so many actions you could do. Um, whereas like in a video game, maybe it's like one item that you have that's very useful and a whole bunch that aren't. So like in a board game, you can be like, at this time I'm going to try using these resources and going in this spot. Or in a campaign game, you're like, I have this whole world over here. And now that I'm on that tangent, I think to myself, like even the campaign games feel so much different and more. I'm more in when I play a board game. Maybe it's the physicality of it. Maybe it's the fact that I have to read everything versus, skipping with A. Um, so
I
you
do.
really have to be invested in it, and that also could take you out. So it's like if it's if it's not good, it could take you out. So I think that's actually a big one right there. The difference is like these big games that are kind of campaignish or have big miniatures. They're trying to simulate that, and I think the feeling of having to take things and move them and and organize, and you're looking at this whole landscape and you're kind of creating more in your mind, and the script that's there, all that pulls you in. Whereas like the cutscenes in Last of Us are amazing and they may create memories, but that's not every game. Like that's just not every game. Some of them are really bad and silly and not finished and like just not good. So
Well, I think that board games are also a little bit more of an art form because you have these people who are creating these a lot of the time as their hobby, not even
yeah,
necessarily as their job, compared to a whole entire huge team of video game developers who are just sort of slogging through their daily tasks.
yeah,
When you pick up a board game, and I think even more so with solo games and narrative games than any other type, people have put their heart and soul into that game.
yes, they do.
And that really comes across, I think, on the tabletop. And like you said, there's that whole tactile experience. It really does involve a lot of your sensory elements, and it's
Yeah,
exciting to have it on the board in front of you. But I really do think that there's just something special about the love that's put into those games being made.
yeah.
And that's
Like so, like I just got done playing Too Many Bones today.
oh, I haven't played that, but it looks so good. Chip Theory
Well, I
game.
played this Undertow today, and
Mm-hmm.
it just reminded me. I played this game when I was back in coming back into board games. Allow me to do this. I have to. It feels too good. And I just it reminded me because I was learning Undertow. I was playing with Paul Grogan, and when I play this, when I feel this like I am right now, there's nothing like that. It's a feeling of tactile feeling. These chips are slipping in my hand. They're high quality, and I want to pay attention to everything that's on it because it's presented well. And then everything you're doing in this game has to have chips in your hand, so you're always feeling it. that's just a different experience than holding a controller. It just is. It's
Mhm.
so much more. I feel it. I know what I'm doing. All the dice are exciting and colorful, and they all have their own little icons. Some overwhelming. I understand, but it's still an experience. It feels like a full-on sensory experience. Whereas, I mean, like I said, it could be happiness, excitement, fear, whatever. In a video game, I just don't know if the lasting feeling to me a little bit more on this one on the tactile feel of a board game.
No, I totally agree. I'm a very tactile person anyway,
Yeah,
so
I am
that
too.
appeals to me a lot. But I think a lot of people are, and I do see even video games trying to replicate that and not doing it as well as board games.
Yes.
Like Switch now has the little vibration that happens
Yeah.
occasionally, but it's just not the same as the variety of different shapes and sizes of things that you can have and weights and everything else in a board game. It's really unique that way, I think.
Yeah, I think video games just have like board games have their limitations too. But I think that's the thing is like people who say that like they don't like solo game always refer to video games, and I'm just like it. The one thing you can't do is now I have the option to bring people over and play the rest of my game with me. So it's like so I'll just go back to that. It's like I have the best of both worlds. I have 1 through 4 players, 1 through 5 players.
That's pretty awesome.
Like that's what I have. I have the one on the box. You do not. You
Hmm.
have the bad 2-player variant. I do not. like, like man, it's not good at 2-player. I ain't got to worry about that. I don't have to worry about that.
Not a problem.
like, I'll just break it out when like 3 or 4 of y'all come over. Like I'm good. So I'll just play the one. The one works. Like
That was very helpful. So, what
right.
was your very first solo game? Like you mentioned that you played a few games as solo experiences, even though you were playing
My
fourth.
first.
But what was the first like actual dedicated solo game?
Oh, okay. So quick, the story right here. There's a game, this gaming podcast. Speaking of which, video games, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but the guy's name is Jeff Kanata, and it was a video game podcast. It was great, and they would at the end they would talk about different things. So one thing they tried was VR, and that didn't work because VR was very new at the time. And I think when Oculus Rift was like first announced, and it finally came out, and they were paying like $1,000 for it. And then they tried the board game thing because he loved to play board games. So I would stick around for this last 10 minutes that he would go on. And he kept bringing up these games. And then like he brought up this one, and it just really hit me. Like I was like, wow, this sounds exactly like what I would love if I was playing a board game. I mean, if I wanted to play a board game, and it was called Mage Knight. And
Yeah.
I was like, God, this is it. Like, this is what I want. Like if I'm going to play a board game, this is what I want. So I got kind of back in the game, and maybe like a year later, unfortunately, this is my wife, my father-in-law passed. And my wife, we both were very, very in a dark kind of place. And she said, well, I want you to do something that makes you happy. So I was like, you know what? I want to start playing board games again. And she said, well, take a little bit of money, buy some board games, and do what you want. And I kind of started buying some board games, and I researched, and I think the first ones I had was like, of course, there's a video game like games. So Shadows of Brimstone, Dungeon Saga, and Mage Knight. So I bought like basically video game board games like Final Fantasy Tactics, insert dungeon crawler here, and like, top-down adventure Zelda, like so.
Start somewhere. That sounds good.
Literally just bought all those games basically. So Mage Knight was like really the first one, and I mean like I can't describe. It's like the best way to come into gaming and also the worst way to come in at the same time because it has at least top 5 worst rulebook of all time.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, it's like at least for me, and I've read a lot of rulebooks, but I still feel like it is in that top 5. It is just it's bad. You can't play the game. You can't play the game. But you can get like 6 erratas and all kinds of stuff, and that's what I had. I had a whole bunch of sheets of paper. I had them laid out. I was reading the terms, flipping them over, and 4.5 hours later, in a game that's supposed to take an hour and a half, I had played my first game of Mage Knight, and I played it for the entire week, and it is my first love, and it's still to this day. I just can't I just can't think of a better game. Like I've tried all these games, and I'm like, this one gives me everything. It gives all the stuff that I like. It has a combination of mechanisms, the multi-use cards, the journey, the adventure, and you get the whole thing in one game. You don't have to play 3 games. You don't have to, like epic campaign. No, it's epic all at once, and it's a puzzle. It's discovery. It's difficult gameplay, and it's got a little bit of that unpredictable part that I like about board games. If you can give me a little bit unpredictable, other than seeing all the spaces and know what they do, I like that even more. It's just a thing that's like my kind of thing. I like that kind of stuff too, a sense of discovery, and that one definitely does. You got the last day, and that one is, whoo, like, well, that's cool. Like you're looking at your hand, you're looking at what you got to do, and you go, this is fun. Let's work this puzzle out. Like, let's figure it out. Let's go on an adventure together. And I mean, for a solo gamer, I mean, you really can't ask for much more other than if you like to play puzzle games, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, it's definitely got that challenge of the rule book. I think probably because it was originally written in Czech and then translated into English.
Oh, yeah.
But at least I assume it is because the designer is from Czechoslovakia.
Makes total sense. Yeah, I think I think that game though, like as I tell people, if you can start solo gaming with Mage Knight, you can play any game. You can
That's probably true.
That means you can tolerate anything. All right, like you can do anything in this world in board games, if you can tolerate that and still want to play and say you had the best time of your life.
That's pretty good. But I think you hit on a few interesting points. I think it's important in most games, and especially in solo games, to have a sense of tension. And that's kind of hard to do because people can do it at their own pace. Unless you actually have a clock or a timer, it's hard to create that suspense and that tension in a game. But that did it really, really well. And I think anytime you can challenge a player, so you're on the edge of your seat, so you don't know what that next thing is going to be, and then you roll the dice or you flip over the tile or something happens and it's a surprise, that's such a good fun feeling.
It's such a good feeling. And like good, bad, or ugly, like good, bad, or ugly. So let's see, let's do a 3-level here on this one. Like, let's say Sorcerer City, that's already built into the game. Like, you got pressure, and in the solo game, it still is tough, but you got the pressure, you got the time, so you're constantly making these decisions, and it's just you. Like, it's okay that 4 other people aren't there. It doesn't matter. You're still getting the same experience of trying to put out these tiles. The time gets hard. By the 3rd round, you got tiles everywhere, and you're still trying to fulfill the requirements, just like everybody else. But then you also have games that have like in-game conditions that'll make it kind of crazy, like Anachrony, or like it's just like, oh my god, like this is going to happen. I got to borrow all these things. This Chronobot's making it crazy for me, but these events are going to happen. That one's crazy. Or you have like Nemesis, where it's just like you roll a die, and then all of a sudden it gives you the feeling like something's popping out of nowhere. And I like that idea. Yeah, I like that feeling too.
You're on that alien ship and you don't know what's coming after you.
You don't know what's coming. And that's cool.
Your face.
It's thematic, and it doesn't stink. It's not cheesy. It's actually like, whoa, this is like Alien. I like that feeling. I like that feeling.
So it's fun to play these games. You get that suspense, you get that rush, but you also love hanging out with people. So there are a lot of actual really good communities for solo gamers, so that you can have these wonderful experiences and then go share them with someone else. So what communities would you recommend for people who do really enjoy solo games?
So we have Solo Board Gamers, the Solo Board Gamers group, which is like a big, it is the biggest one we have on Facebook, at least. And then we have Board Games for One, and then we also have the one that's called, it's like Dungeon Crawler Adventures. So if you're like very specific into that, there's even Euro Board Gamers, which is a really good one that focuses on Euro games. But of course, if you play solo, you're always invited. And I really just, honestly, overall, there's so many different places you can go and just share what your thoughts are. I mean, like it's thankfully it's gotten so big that big enough to where people are just, they want to see your love of a game. And if the solo mode strikes them, it strikes them. I always tell people, like, it just takes one. It just takes one good game for you to go, oh, I want to try that, or one good app, like one app, and you go like, hey, I want to own this game, and I've been playing it by myself the whole time, like you like it. Like Sagrada is a great app, and it plays great solo, and then all of a sudden you may go like, hey, I want to own Sagrada. It's pretty, like it's just, so that's kind of how I see it, at least, like there's a lot of good groups. And if you're on BGG, there's a 1-player guild. That's like the biggest guild on BGG, by the way. I think it is still yeah, I think it's still the biggest one. So yeah, it's not a joke. It's a big groups out there for solo play. It's not so niche all the time as some people see it.
Nice. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost halfway through. So I did want to make sure and tell all of our viewers that we do have a contest going on. So we are going to be giving away some solo games from Renegade. We have a few that support solo play pretty well. So Clip Cut Parks has some good solo rules to it. And you've actually done some stuff with that.
Yeah. So you can go through a lot of your games, because I like to play a lot of them solo. But yeah, Clip Cut Parks is really fun. It's got a deck. It's got a small AI deck to it, and you still get the same amount of fun. So like, let's say you're playing this with your family, you love it. I played it with my son, then I played it with my wife and my son, and we played that one live. And then all of a sudden you go like, hey, I still want to play this game. It's a fun little puzzle. You maybe be sitting in front of the TV. You want to kind of do something instead of being on your phone, right? You go, hey, I got this game right here. Oh, hey, open it up, do some cutting, flip some cards. Done deal. It's got like a little burner, like a card burner, I believe it. Like, so you kind of go through the cards fast and try to get the turns done. Fun game. What you got? Awesome. What's next? Terrible O? What you got?
Okay, we're giving away Clip Cut Parks. We're also giving away The Search for Planet X, which just barely came out. And have you gotten a chance to play this?
No, I have not.
What? I'll have to send you a copy. So it's a deduction game where you're trying to figure out where Planet X is. So you can play it against somebody else where you're racing to find Planet X, but you can also play it as a solo game where you're still trying to find Planet X. Surprise! So yeah, I'll have to send you a copy. It's fun.
Little phrase. Oh, for The Search for Planet X, huh?
Yeah, I got some good solo rules.
I like
and then also the first one in our Solo Hero series, which is a whole series of games that we decided to start off just dedicated to only solo play. So we wanted to make a game that wasn't sort of retrofitted, if you will, to solo gaming. We wanted to make a game from the beginning that was made for a solo player. And this is Proving Grounds, and it's by King Klenko. And he actually has done a lot of games with us, and I really like the way that he adds suspense to game using dice rolling and apps that have a timer on them to make sure that you only have so much time to get through the actions you need to do, and you're doing it really fast, and it's really exciting. And then you see if you were able to do it or not.
Yeah, he's from around here. Never heard of him, but most innovative designer in 2019. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. You live in the same neck of the woods.
Designer ever.
I love
He's
King.
such a nice guy. You got to jam him up. You got to jam him up. He's too nice of a guy. But yeah, that was a really, really interesting game. It is a really pressure-filled game too. That's another thing. Another game. Lots of pressure on the player. So do you like that kind of stuff? And that's the thing. I'm a person of all different tastes. I'm going to let that experience dictate itself for me. Like, I want to see what it does for me. I give a lot of games that I'm not really always so set on theme. So I like to just say, like, hey, do you even make me pay attention to the theme? Like, that's all I really care about. Like, is the game good enough where I want to pay attention to anything that's going on here? And that one right there, it's true. It's true. Like, I know how people go from like the box inward. I go from like what's in the box outward, because I need to know if I want to ever play it again and not just look at cards. So it's like, I mean, I can look at beautiful cards and boxes and they help me, make this shelf look good, but like, they got to be good games, man. What's in the box has to matter. So yeah, that game right there, lots of pressure and choices, and it's not easy. So it feels like the weight of your choices are important because it's so many dice and time, and I just like that kind of pressure. So that was kind of up my alley. The second one you have though, that Warp's Edge. Oh, hey, I'm telling y'all. Hey, I'm telling you right now. So I'm about to sound like a commercial. Anyway, but telling y'all right now, there's a game that I love. It's called Coffee Roaster.
Oh yeah.
Bag building game. You go in, you grab the chips out of there, and then you kind of make this recipe and stuff like that. It's on the cards, infinite amount, like it's ridiculous amount of replayability. Awesome. Warp's Edge. This is a bag builder, and this one right here is like kind of like Space Invaders, and you're trying to take out these big ships, right? I'll tell you right now, when I played that game for like the first time, I was just like, oh my God, I think this might be better than Coffee Roaster. Like, I was worried. Like, I was like, all right, we'll play this. This is going to be a quick prototype or whatever. Da, da, da. I played it. I was like, okay, let me play this again. Huh. I like this better than Coffee Roaster. I had to tell my friend, me and my friend were talking, who also did a preview content for it. And I was like, do you like, does this seem like Coffee Roaster? She's like, yeah, except better. I'm like, what? There you go. There you go. She wasn't as big of a fan of Coffee Roaster as I was, but that's tough. That's tough. So it's like, I'm going to play the final copy because, of course, all final copies of where they get judged. But like, I was like, man, I think this game is better than Coffee Roaster. So
I'm so excited now. We really had
really excited about that game.
That's
Sign of a good game. Got the prototype like probably right behind me right now. Look at it. Watch. Sign of a good game. Prototype within reach of my game table. Right there. Like just literally like boom, like that. Just boom. That's how good it is. If not, I would have just kept the bag. I would have just kept the bag if it was not good. So there you go.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I'm really excited for that to come out. We, just so everybody knows, we did it on Kickstarter in January.
Yeah.
And it's the second game in our Solo Hero series. So every game in that series, we want to have a really good story that goes along with it. And then that leads into the game itself. So you have a little bit of background, you've got that immersion, and you're excited to play, and then you put it down on the board, and it is a puzzle.
Yeah,
and
it is.
There's a lot of choices that you're making, but it's very difficult to get all of those choices to be exactly lined up correctly so that you can make it all the way to the end and beat that mothership. But then once you do that, you realize that there's a whole bunch of other motherships that are even harder to play.
Yeah, so, and not only that, the choices of just your different ships. Like, okay, what ship am I? What abilities am I going to have for this game? And that's the thing. Every card choice you're making, you just like, it's either this one or that one. You know, it's like, hey, I'm going to take out this level 2, and then just hope how things kind of play out. And then you just know you're going to take damage, or you just know you're going to have to use it. And it's like that game. And then on top of that, your ship that you're fighting against, they present themselves in a different ways too. And like there's one that transforms into like a robot. Like, come on, man. Like, so you have to defeat it twice, and there's different rules to that. So you can get as complicated as you want. That game is really good. I'm looking forward to it. So that one's really good.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I can't wait to see the final pieces, because we did some upgrade kits for it that use, instead of just the regular cardboard tokens that you're putting into a bag and then pulling out, because you're touching them a lot, we wanted to make upgraded tokens that are these really nice, thick, heavy plastic that are a lot like those poker chips, like you were talking about with Chip Theory's games. They make that really nice material. It gives you that tactile sense. It's so important, I think, especially in solo games, to get that right. So we got some samples of them, and they are perfect.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to send you a final copy of it.
Okay, I would say, I'll give you my fax number. Get those over here. All right, go down.
Well, we did have a little bit of a weird problem with the box. Like we manufacture tons of games. We've been in this business for a long time, but you just never know what weird things are going to happen. So we had this box. We told them exactly what we wanted, and we got a copy of it. And the very first thing we do when we get a sample is check that everything's there. And then we put sleeves on our cards and see if they fit back in the box.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it just is so important, I think, because you are shuffling those cards a lot. You want to make sure they don't get dinged up, and people care about keeping their games nice. So when we got the insert and the cards don't fit, we're like, okay, we got to fix this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a really good thing to think about. Because there's publishers who just would not even consider that. It's like it has to be asked, where you've already kind of planned for that. That's a really good model to have, you know, and not everybody can afford to do so, you know, so.
It's true
Um,
too. Yeah.
yeah.
We're very lucky that we can do that. And we have a whole team of gamers. So we think about these things because we're going to be using that game too when it shows up.
Exactly.
So yeah, it did delay our Kickstarter a little bit. So we're sorry for all the backers who are still waiting because I know everybody would love to get their hands on new solo game right now.
Cool summer, it'd be nice.
I know. But we've been
Airship a couple thousand of those, you know, like, go
oh,
right ahead.
so close. So yeah, we've almost got it. We expect to be shipping that in September, so not too much longer.
All right.
But
Cool.
I forgot though. I was telling people we have this bundle of games we're giving away.
Oh gosh, I know. Yeah, sorry. We can.
We got excited. It's fine. So we're giving away Clip Cut Parks, The Search for Planet X, and Proving Grounds. Desiree is going to put a link to the survey to fill out. And in that survey, you're going to have a question. What is the secret code word for this week? And this code word is actually 3 words. Solo, so awesome. So put in solo, so awesome in that survey and you'll be entered for a chance to win. And so that'll be good. Also, on our short list of things to make sure our players know about this week, speaking of solo themes, we also started doing puzzles. And
Wow. Yeah, I saw that.
This week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you like puzzles in your board games, maybe you'll also like jigsaw puzzles. So we thought it'd be fun to do some of those. So if you're interested in puzzles and you've been doing any of those by yourself or with your family, we have a Kickstarter going on for those, which is pretty cool.
That overlight one just looks so gorgeous. Like picture that as oh my goodness, come on. Like that, yeah, come on. Like when I saw that, the first one I saw, I was like, of course, overlights, of course, you know.
I love that piece of artwork. And I am super jealous because Scott Gata actually has the original physically painted copy of that piece of artwork. He's so lucky. So
yeah, I was thinking like if I were to get like 4 of those, like 4 of them, you could just put them like in one big frame or something like that, depending on the size. I just didn't know what the size was. I was like, yeah, maybe I'll come back to this because I might want to start decorating down here with some of the things. Other than this, you know, so I was like, yeah, that might be pretty good because it's really bright and pretty. So I was like, think about that.
So beautiful. Yeah, they're pretty big. There's actually the size of those puzzles is on the Kickstarter, so you can measure it out.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
They're big. They're not like little tiny pieces because they're piece puzzles, so they're pretty reasonable.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it should be fun. But I think it's nice because solo games bring in a whole new community of people that may not play other board games. And I think it's really important as a publisher to think about what other things can we do to bring people into this community, to get people excited about the stuff that we're excited about because it's fun and we're bringing joy to a lot of tables. So how can we get more people into that? And so I like doing weird things like puzzles because I do think it brings a new group of people in.
Definitely.
Like a few years ago, we decided to do role-playing games. Overlight's a good example for the same reason we're bringing new people in. And I just think it's always important to look for opportunities, whether that's different diverse groups of people, different types of gameplay, different entertainment things, just to bring everybody in. Because the more people playing board games, the better, right?
I think, honestly, you guys do a great job of that. That's kind of why I've always been a fan of Renegade Games because you do such a good job. I remember playing Topiary and I was just like, oh, they get it. Like, you know, you're kind of paying attention to people who are people of all walks of life, man. Like there's just different people out there. When I did this massive giveaway, you know, we had a solo co-op one, and then we had like just board games wide. And like as I was reading these emails where people were sending me direct emails and things like that, you don't know how many people were disabled that I got like they're disabled. That's or awesome. They're, you know, they're displaced from their, you know, their game group and they live far away. They had to ride 45 minutes there. You know, a person that's writing for someone else who doesn't have many friends, you know, or they're down in the luck. And that doesn't mean that all solo gamers are disabled and depressed and not that, but like those are gamers too, you know, and they are gamers too. And it needs to touch the people who are even the niche of the niche because they're all invited to the table too. You know, when they get out to these conventions, that's what they do. And I find you know, even for myself, like it's a little bit of it's therapeutic too, you know, to just be by yourself. You're concentrating on something, getting your mind off of things in the world. You know, that's what we do at game nights, right? You know, it's like, hey, we look for a game night. Hey, John was just complete trash today. Gonna go to game night. You know, like, I don't care. Going to game night, you know. You know, so it's like that's your escape. And it's like for some people, like that same feeling could just be by yourself at a table, you know, with your llama. You know, I got my llama vibes going on here. I got my little llama, me and my llama, and we're hanging out, and we're just playing board games. But
So one kind of interesting thing, I mean, I like llamas, but not about that.
I just literally threw you off with that one. She was like, "What is going on right now?" if I told you you had a name, you would have stopped this whole thing. You'd be like, "What is wrong with this man?" I knew Jeremy, but I did not think I knew. You'd be like,
I don't know if I can do interviews with you again because you keep making me laugh so hard I'm crying.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is so fun. Back to a more serious note, yes. Although it is fun. It's interesting. We were talking about bringing more people in and giving more people opportunities to come to the table. And as crazy as this year has been, I do think it's really cool that we've had this push to get everybody online and playing games together, even though we can't physically be together. Yeah. And I think it gives a lot of people who maybe can't afford to go to a convention, or it's physically difficult for them to go to a convention, an opportunity to still share in that experience and be part of all these fun online conventions that are going on right now. Yeah. Like we did Renegade Con a couple weekends ago. We're getting ready for the virtual gaming convention that Dice Tower and BGG are putting on. We're ramping up for Gen Con. So how do you feel about that? Like as a solo gamer, it's a little bit different because you don't necessarily need conventions to
enjoy. Oh my God, I have to play with other people. Oh my God. No.
But are you excited about this, or is it like, I don't really care, I don't need this?
Okay, like two things here. So like the cool thing about being a solo gamer is, like I said, you have the ability. The one is like priority maybe for you, and then the other stuff is just like, you know, whatever, or it's the other way around, right? But what I also tell people is that solo gamers also like to play co-op games. So they like to play with another person, and that's the only person in their gaming group is just them two, you know, like, or it's they're two friends and they play Gloomhaven. Well, guess what? Now they can play Gloomhaven together on table, you know, on TTS, you know. So there's games like that, and then they'll come to the conventions and then they'll play with you. And I'm sure you've had this many a times. You'll play the game. You're probably at your Renegade Con. They're playing the game, and it says one on the box, and they say, "Hey, what about the solo?" You know, and you'll get that, right? You'll get those questions, and that person's playing the game. They're in the chat, or like me at a convention, I'm bringing around my list for solo games, and I'm trying to parse together how this game can be played solo while it's there. So whether it's at a convention or in a virtual convention, I'm going to be one of those people that ask the questions. Is it an AI deck? Is it is it a beat your score? Is it a goal-based thing? I want to know those questions. I want to know the answers to those questions. So you do that at a convention, you know. And the cool part about now with a lot of these things is that you get to talk to the designer. So there's a little bit more of an intimate connection to some of the things that are going on, or, you know, personalities, you know, that you get the chance to speak with, because they also need to talk to people too. So it's still a different, an awesome amount of interaction that you may not get, but it would be the same thing as being at a convention for some people. So I try to tell people, like, it can be different. People may be turned off by it, but I think for the most part, people just want to play with other people at this point. You know, the barrier of technology is a thing, but anybody who goes through like a 5-minute tutorial with somebody who does know how to play, more than likely will be able to play. It's just that barrier of entry. Otherwise, I think everybody would be playing TTS right now.
Yeah, I was surprised. So we did a little survey after we finished up with our convention of people who came and joined us. And I asked them, have you used Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia? Have you used these technologies before? Have you used Discord before? And then at the end of the convention, how comfortable did you feel with these things?
Yeah.
So at the beginning, were you very experienced? At the end, you were still comfortable, or were you completely had never seen it before, and now you feel like you can use it? And it did seem like there was a big percentage of people had never touched Tabletopia before, or
Yeah.
even, and a good percentage of Discord as well. And by the end of the convention, almost everybody felt like at least they knew a little bit about it and could comfortably play a game. So those people who did get out and try to do it ended up having a good experience. So if any of our viewers feel like they aren't sure about some of these digital conventions, I really encourage you to at least try them out, because I was surprised by how well people got along with it.
I would say, yeah, get in there, lurk, try things out, go on Tabletopia, just try out the tutorials, because as a content creator, that's kind of like what we have to do at this point to play some of these games. And since we don't have our game groups, some people don't have family members full of people that play card games. My son's 7, there's certain games he won't even touch. My wife's not a big gamer at all. So I have to find the right people or play with just random people, which is fine by me. I love people. So that's just me. But, like that, I think these conventions are smooth. Eventually you're going to become a norm of some form, just like E3 and the gaming side has become a complete virtual thing, and it works. It does work. And there will be some form of that moving forward. And I think there'll be some form of that moving forward for board games due to cost, due to, just big different access and building your own community. It's even a bigger opportunity to build a community. But bringing it back to solo gamers, like there's still ways you can address them directly as well and create like small little events and get them included as well. There's so many different ways to think about this, but it's still an evolving process. Virtual, it's just right now we're trying to throw shaped mud at the wall. Like we're trying to figure out, it's like, maybe this will work. But you put a lot of work into it. You're like, this looks like a square piece of mud. We'll see if it works.
So one thing we tried at our convention, because we did want to highlight Warp's Edge because it's coming out pretty soon, was we put it on Tabletopia, but we set it up so that we could have several people playing their own individual games at the same time with one person helping them all out. And what I think was really cool about that was that even though I'm playing the solo game, if there's a rule that I get stuck on or there's something that I don't understand and I ask that question, all of the other people at the table benefit from hearing that. You may not have come across it yet, but they probably will eventually. So all of the people at the table actually learn that game much faster than they would have if we had done it as one-on-one demos. And I think that's something that at even physical conventions we're going to implement in the future. It was easy to do it digitally, so we did it. But now we're like, oh, wait, this is actually the right way to teach this type of game.
So this is the thing. Like, I want more people to know how to play a game out the box. Or before they open the box, I love, I love a good rule book. I read maybe 10, 12 rule books a week, but there's also a lot of rule books that are average and below average. Unlike the game is usually okay at worst. Like most games are good or okay, but the experience is hard to get through knowing that I have to read these rules. And I think with all the digital stuff we're talking about right now, there's a great opportunity to host events where you give rules, demoed plays that are not just convention based, but like a launch event for a game, and like the solo gamers get theirs, everybody gets theirs, and you could just do it all together and say, hey, like this is how you play and this is the solo mode. And then like, is there a Roddy Smith for virtual? Like that's the thing. It's like, not just going to a video, a YouTube video. Like literally, we're doing this live. Like we are teaching it live, beautiful, presented, nice and clean. This is our release. Boom. This is how you play it. Boom. Any questions?
So I'm a little concerned that you've been hacking into my account, because we actually have this exact plan on the books for an upcoming release.
Yeah. I got. You know what I'm saying? I got that mind meld. Man talk. It's reaching out.
Right, so anyway. We haven't publicly talked about this at all yet, but we have this game that all of the files are done and we want to put it on Kickstarter, but we said, wait a second, we now have an opportunity to put this up on Tabletopia. We can do a premiere event where people can come and play it. We can put it on Kickstarter, and then we can see, like, was there something we missed? Is there something people really like about this or need to be a little bit different? And then we can print it. And we've never had that opportunity before because, well, to be honest, we did, and we just didn't take advantage of it. But if we had put this on Tabletopia a year ago, we would have had a small percentage of the people interested in playing it compared to what we have today. So it is a really cool time to take advantage of some different situations that we have, but I really am happy about because it broadens that community. Anybody can jump on and play with us now, no matter where they are in the world, no matter what's going on with their job or their situation or anything else. Now they can come and play, and I think that's pretty exciting. But thank you for having good ideas that I will steal and use to make my ideas even better.
All right, no copyright, no copyright. Just sing your invoice. But yeah, I'll just get you the invoice. It's fine. But but yeah, I just think that like, and that's a whole nother combo I could have for days. But it's just like, it's so important to present that product, and especially if you're pitching it to solo gamers who are going to be a percentage of the people that help you fund and do well in this Kickstarter. You know, as I always say, by attachment rate in a sense. They, you know, they need to be spoken to. And if you have something where you are lumping this event in, and it feels like it's not going to be an afterthought in your game and the experience that you're bringing to people, that brings in a whole nother audience, and they will follow you because you've given that consistency to that experience. Like, hey, these people really care about solo games. They do this whole presentation, and they, you know, like, it's not like, oh, this is the end, I don't know the rules to the solo, but here it goes. No, it's like, it's all part of the presentation. You know, there's still going to be let's say there's 2,000 people in the chat. There may be 1,800 when the solo rules come. There might be 1,200 when the solo rules come. That's 1,200 people, you know, it's 1,200 people. So that's how I tell people, it's just like, they still count. They still are part of the money. So like, give everybody that whole deal, you know? So I think this virtual thing is wide open, and I think everybody's going to learn how to use it best for their models. But overall, for Kickstarter projects like that, like what you're saying, that like is so up my alley. I just played a Kickstarter game that's coming out on Tuesday with the designer, and I was like, this is more valuable to me. Like, if I'm excited about this game, or I don't know about it, okay, well, I want to see it being played right now, and I should be able to ask questions, and you know, I want to be engaged. And like, I asked him about the soul just like anybody else would, and he explained it thoroughly. I was like, thank you. Like, even though it was under development, he was like, this is what we're working for. People can handle that. Like, people can handle that. If you said, oh, I don't know if it's AR or beat your score, that's a little different. But like, oh, what are you talking about, bro? Do you know what this game is yet? But yeah, I mean, but people do like to know, like, and I think the overall point for me is like, I want to be part of the experience. Like, even in that small part, it's like, I'm part of the development experience. If I saw something I think is cool or different, like I did last night, and we made a note about it, I was like, see, like, that was cool. And it happened live, and it was organic, and it was fun. It was like, he's like, that is cool. So then we like talked about it afterwards. But like, you know, let the people be part of this. Like, let people be a part of the launch, the introduction, and that be all of us, not all of us, which is, you know, the solo players as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm off the soapbox now. I'm getting off the soapbox. Go ahead.
No, I think that actually was a really wonderful place to segue. So I do just want to remind everybody again, we do have that giveaway going on. If you're interested in some of our great solo games, please enter. And just one more time, Desiree is going to post that link. And the giveaway is code that you'll put into there is solo so awesome. That's 3 different words.
Code solo so awesome.
Just like that. You have to put it in just the way you said it. But I do have one other very, very important question for you. And maybe I'm wrong, but I heard that you like cupcakes. Is it true?
I love cake.
I love cake too. So what's your favorite kind of cupcake? Because I was thinking about making cupcakes this weekend, and it would be important for me to know what the best kind is.
See, it's not like, I don't think you you like cakes. I don't think you understand. See, this is what I'm saying. Hold on, let me get geared up here. Hold on.
You have to get geared up
It's
for this
just,
one. I'm excited
it's
now.
just cake. I like tasty cakes. I like tasty treats. I like fun. Cakes are fun. Like I want cake. Just give me cake. It doesn't matter what the flavor is, filling, tasty treats, as I always say. I want tasty treats. So like and like if you're having a party for me and there's not a cake, I'm actually gonna walk out of your party. Like I'm literally gonna walk out of your party. Like don't throw a party for me without cake. Yeah, it'll be sad. It'll be an unfortunate day. Everybody, the balloons can go. I don't care about your balloons. Like just cake, like one cake. It could be a Hostess cupcake, cake. So it's a thing. It's a thing with me. Since I was a little boy with my little Spider-Man cake, I just love cake. I really do. It's like the one thing I won't share. It's the one thing
So you're definitely a solo cupcake eater as well as a solo giver. You obviously were an only child growing up, because if you had siblings, you would not have gotten away with that.
I actually thought about my wife. I actually gave my wife some heat this week. I bought this piece of cake and I was so excited about it. And I even planned to wait until it was later at night. I was like, she's not going to eat cake like this later at night. Lo and behold, I went somewhere and I came back and I'm looking for this cake. And she just like, I ate the cake, Jeremy. She said it too. She just said, I ate the cake. I didn't talk to her for an hour. It was like almost an hour I talked to her. I was like, I'm really like, it's just like a child. I'm a child when it comes to this cake. I love cakes.
So my husband is an only child as well. And I learned very quickly that there was a big difference between only children and people like me who grew up with a lot of siblings. When we had first been married not too long, my mom sent me a Valentine's Day little package. And inside were some boxes of conversation hearts. My husband loves candy. So we were opening this up. He hands me the card that was in there, and I carefully open it and read this sweet card for my mom. And I turn around and he's just looking in this empty bag, and he's like, I ate all of them. I thought your mom would have sent more. All the conversation parts are gone. But he didn't do it maliciously. He just had no idea that she would only have sent 2 boxes of conversation cards. That's like 2 seconds worth of candy for him.
It's like the only thing that makes me like so bougie. Like it just really is. It's the only thing. It's just like I would do the same thing. It's like, why would you just give me these cookies? Like, why would you just give me like two, why would somebody get me 2 boxes of Girl Scout cookies? That is not a good
That's not enough.
That's not a good effort. Okay. That's what I said. That is a below standard effort. Okay.
I love it. That's hilarious.
I like your gesture. Low effort. Okay.
Low effort. Hilarious.
Gesture.
Well, I'll make sure if I ever get you Girl Scout cookies that I get you a whole truckload of them, because that's an apparently appropriate amount, right?
That's it. Go big. It'll be all right.
Oh my goodness. So I don't want to run out of time before asking, because I'm sure all of our solo viewers will be very excited. Where can they find you if they want to watch more awesome solo content? Where's it at?
Well, I try to make myself available all over the place. But I mean, if most people who do know of me would know that, but I live on Man vs. Meeple. That is my home, and I do solo Sundays, which is on the Man vs. Meeple Facebook page, where I play solo games every Sunday at 3 p.m. CDT. And I also sometimes do them at 12 and 3, just depending on how excited I am about the week. There's just so many games that get to the table. Sometimes I get so excited. And there's some awesome solo games. I do play some heavy ones. And then I play some lighter ones. And sometimes even on Saturdays on my personal account, I have what's called Testing Saturday. I'll just play a bunch of games, like whatever they are. I do a lot of different things in a lot of different places. But yeah, you can find that content there. And then it also goes over to the YouTube page afterwards. So You'll see a lot of my content there. And I also go to a ton of podcasts and live shows like this to talk about solo games and all the other games I'm playing, because I'm not just a solo gamer. This is what I do a lot of. So, yeah, you can find me a lot of places, man.
That's awesome. You are all over the internet. Like pretty much anytime I open up Facebook, I have all these notifications and you're in the account. You're just everywhere. That's awesome.
I'm shameless, man. I'm shameless. You say. I just am. I'm not shameless. I'm an only child. What do you expect? What do you expect?
I totally understand. When only children get excited about something, there is no stopping them.
Hey, Ma. Hey, Ma. Hey, Ma. Hey, Ma.
Nobody else
can hey, Sarah. Can I talk? Can I talk? Can I talk?
I love it. Oh, well, seriously, thank you so much for being on our show. It has been wonderful. You only made me laugh so hard I cried a few times, so that's good. And I hope you enjoy a wonderful Juneteenth today and a wonderful Father's Day on Sunday, and just have an awesome weekend. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Desiree, for moderating this. Oh no, I forgot. We're supposed to have questions. I got so excited talking to you. I forgot we had an audience.
We have just a few if you don't mind answering them, Jeremy.
Man, fire away. I got this.
We could do a speed round.
I ran out of time because I was so excited about it.
Go ahead. Fire away.
All right. So this is actually for both of you. Have either of you tried the Sea of Thieves tabletop game?
I haven't. Have you heard of it?
Sea of Thieves? I thought Sea of Thieves was a video game. Huh.
Maybe it was also a video game.
I have not.
I'm afraid that one is not ringing a bell for me. But I will have to go look it up. And that's
BGG that. We got that. BGG. We got it.
Yeah. I love that viewers know even more about stuff than we do sometimes.
All right. Okay, rapid fire. Let's do it.
All right. So when learning a new game, do you set up and work through it, or do you read the rules first and then set up and play?
I have weird processes to all of this. So like I said, I really do read a lot of rule books. So I actually carry rule books around with me in my book bag, like just a stack of them. And then I kind of go like, what do I want to get interested in now? But I have this thing where I have a small table, a campaign table, and then I have this table right here that I do all the content on. So I have like a lot of small games that I can get to and play around with over there. Then I have one that's set up for like a game I have to play several times, like a bigger campaign game or a bigger Euro game. And then I have this one right here, which is like the main screen of my stuff. So this could be something I have to have set up because I may be going back to it and looking at it and taking pictures and stuff like that. So like, it just depends on the game. The process is always going to be different. But yeah, it really does depend on the game, honestly. Yeah. But I know what that is. Like, I try to think of it like this. When I played Gloomhaven, I used to set it up and then not play it. And then the next day I would read about the scenario and then I would like sit down and then I would come back and play it. So that's how I kept that campaign game on my table. Or Kingdom Death Monster, I did that for a while too. It's like, it was a deal. You had to get the books ready. You had to get the, it's like D&D. It's like it's so big. You have to like get ready for the world. You got to get the music. I do music too. Yes, I do. Okay. Respect my journey. Respect my journey. All right.
I like that. That's awesome.
Special trip to get the special juice that I drink, my potions. And then I got my, I don't know what I can say. I just drink my potions. And then I have my music, and then I'm all in. Let's do it. It just depends on the game. So I have a lot of processes.
Did you ever see those little potion drinks? I own a retail store, and so we sold them at some point. Maybe it was 10 years ago. But there's a company that made these little awesome energy drinks that were in this beautiful potion bottle. I think there were red and blue ones. Do you remember these, or am I just
crazy? But cool.
They were awesome. They were really expensive and hard to ship.
Of course.
So they always arrive appropriately. But they were very cool. I miss those. I wonder who used to make those. It's been a while.
That sounds like one of those things in the store where you're like, boy, this is cool. And you're like, what is that? How much is this one? $20. Oh, there you go. Oh, put it right back
I don't think they were $20. They were not cheap, but they were these little portions. You put Kool-Aid in
some sleeves instead. like,
yeah, exactly.
I'll take some sleeves.
Nice. All right. Any other questions?
Yes. So, what design elements get more attention in solo game design?
I think most of them are going to, I mean, let's be honest, most of them are going to be beat your score. Because you're talking about a lot of Euro games, you're talking about a lot of card games, and that's kind of like how the math works. There's going to be the objective-based games, which of course are going to be more your campaign games, but there are card games that have like a combination of objectives and then also scoring thresholds as well. So it's like scoring threshold, and then you have like something else you got to complete. So there's like a combination of two. I like that. I like that. But then also, of course, you have like, that's just, man, there's so many, but like, I think the one that's the coolest for solo gamers would be the deck, the AI deck. A set of movements, a set of, multiple movements, and, their goals versus your goals, different types of AIs that act different ways. But, of course, the ones that, like I said, of course, the ones that are going to be the most are going to be beat your score, which is changing and getting better. It's getting more exciting in the way they do it. Like It's a Wonderful World does that amazingly well. But it's just kind of like that's kind of what it is. And you have to decide whether you like that stuff or not. I played the Magnificent. That's a great one. You got to hit 200 points, and you know how you got to do it. It's tough, but it's a good goal. It's actually a good goal for playing the game, and you do get a filling experience, and you do get that pressure and still the fun. So yeah, I mean, like, you just got to know how games work, and that's usually what it's going to be, beat your score. So
makes sense.
Just quit if you don't like it. Just quit. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
At least now there are enough options. Like before, there really were very few games that had a solo option at all. So you kind of just had to deal with it if you didn't like that method. Too bad. But now you can just pick a different one, which is nice.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's great to have a repertoire in your collection. I'm glad I have such a diverse group of games to play. I only have a couple, so.
Only a couple. I just had to buy another shelf. It's kind of embarrassing because I have too many games and they were all on the floor.
Sarah, I bought another Calyx. The whole idea is to get the games off the floor and put my big box campaign games in another Calyx. I did that. I got every game off my floor for 1 week.
Don't tell me this. This is my future.
I could actually see the floor, but I'm just saying, just 1 week. I mean, just 1 week. Just 1 week. It's crazy.
My suggestion: if you buy a game store, then you don't feel so bad about having 5 Calyx's worth of games. You do end up still having games on your floor at your house, which is what happened to me. But you feel slightly better about it.
Yeah. And then when my wife, I just started painting minis again, and my wife's just like, "Oh no, it's happening again." She's
oh no.
Just like, "Oh my god!" So now there's paint supplies everywhere. It's just like, oh, this is getting ridiculous. Yeah, baby, I'm all in. I'm all in. This is my life. This is my life. This is my lifestyle.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes. So, what is your favorite memory of playing games with your son?
Oh man, you know what? The one game that I just think about was just like 2 years ago when Gizmos came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget this because my buddy Garrett, who is like he's there's types of gamers, and he's like a resource gatherer. Like he gathers everything up and he waits for the big 1 or 2 turns in the game. Like he gets this 1, 2 big turns, and he was waiting to do his thing. And my son, he was kind of learning. You could tell he was kind of getting it. You know how kids kind of get it. And then you're like, oh, I don't know if they're getting it. And then they get it. And you're like, oh, wait, hold on now. You're not going to win. But good lesson to learn here. You're not going to win. But so he was like starting to get it. And then all of a sudden I was looking at him like, oh boy. And he took one of the gears. He took one of the things to build. And it was like, oh man, wait, I do think he's getting it. So he started getting through this turn. He's like, Dad, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, because Gizmos is a very pleasing game like that, so it's good this and that. And he's like, how does this card work? And I was like, uh-oh. So then he goes and he pulls off this other combo, and he goes like this. As soon as he puts the last thing out, he goes, and he just sat back because it unlocked like 4 or 5 other cards. He was like,
oh, that's such a good feeling. That's so satisfying.
Such a funny thing. So when the game was over, Garrett was counting his score. I counted my score. He won by 1 point. And when he did, he was like, he did it again. He was like, oh.
So cute. That's so
I laughed so hard. Oh my gosh, it was just too much to handle to watch him do that. And he just, like, did I do something wrong? It's just, but he was so hyped that he did it, like. But playing with my son anytime is just great. He's he's so me, little me, and yeah. And then he also is my wife, who's sometimes just not interested in games.
Oh no!
He's like, no, Dad. Like, hey, you want to do Dad and Dude? No, Dad. Like, no. So it just depends. It's me or Fortnite. So that's what it is. So there you go.
It's really hard to battle against video games with kids. Yeah. We actually did. So all of these interviews and workshops and panels we did at the Renegade Con a couple of weekends ago, we've been slowly posting those up on our YouTube channel. And one of the ones that we haven't quite posted yet was actually by a father who's taught his kids how to play board games. And it's talking about how do you be better than video games?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get your kids so excited to play with you that it's worth putting down Fortnite and playing Arboretum? And that's really actually a challenge.
Yeah, I hear you. You still have a barrier there, and it's also just the way we're wired. Like, how are you wired? And these kids, the kids, I shouldn't say these kids, children are, you have to figure out who they are. They're little beings. We don't know who they are just yet. They are part of both of us, the people who made them, but like, they're learning who they are. And it's like, board games don't necessarily always translate to how they want to learn yet, or how they're learning, like how they take in information. And that's why I tell people, like, you just don't know. Like, my son picked up a controller when he was like 3 and just did it. Like, he was playing Overwatch when he was like 4, like just doing it.
Yeah, play Overwatch.
Like, he was just playing Overwatch. Like, he just knew how to play. Like, he was just playing Overwatch, and I laughed my guts out. Like, you guys are losing to a 4-year-old. Like,
that's amazing. He would beat me.
Like, I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, he is actually like killing people. He's a 4-year-old. But that was back when Bastion was overpowered. Anyway,
oh, okay.
That was back when Bastion was ridiculously overpowered. You can mow down anybody. But yeah, it just that's a child development thing where you just don't know where they are. But like, I feel like board games, especially card games in particular, do a great job of showing like different ways of thinking and also have an educational value to them. That and I just say that about card games because there's so many things you can do with a deck of cards. I often tell people, like, what would you take with you on an island? They'll say, what game would you take? I was like, I'll just take a deck of cards. Like, we never run out of games to play. Like, we can play anything.
No kidding. I agree with
you. Games. We could design games together. Like, we could just take like rocks and say, hey, I hit you, I won, and here's my card. But I mean, like, we could do whatever we want. And I just think people, like, that's a great learning opportunity for kids. It's like, doing that, and then if you have the skill, you guys can create a game together. You can, and like, I just love that. That's why I love card games so much, because I grew up around those card games all the time with my extended family. That's what we did. We played a lot of card games, a lot of them.
Yeah, it sounds like we definitely had that as a shared experience, and I think it's so much easier to learn games when you do learn them as a kid. It's like learning another language, especially card games, because there is so much diversity in what you can learn with just a deck of cards, but then you can take those ideas and extrapolate them to a million other games. It's very helpful to teach kids at least card games.
Yeah, I also think, well, boy, we could go on this one, but like, fun is simple. Fun is simple. You should not have to find the fun. I don't care if it's on Mars or it's Sticky Chameleons. By the way, Sticky Chameleons is absolutely freaking hilarious. Like, whoever signed that game is an idiot, but they are also cool.
Actually, this is funny. So I was working at Yellow this year at Toy Fair, And Teo, the designer of Sticky Chameleons, was just wandering around Toy Fair, just grabbing weird things. And he found these little hands, and he was like, throw the little things, they're toys for kids that you throw and they stick on the thing and they come back. And he was like, these are amazing.
Yeah.
Designer, and so he'd come to Toy Fair, he's on this big adventure, he's like running around and touching everything. He just thought those were so cool. He's like, I'm gonna make out of these are awesome.
I swear to, like, that's the thing. It's like that fun is so simple. I try to tell people, like, you should know within the first turn, fun is about to be had, or I'm having fun right away. You shouldn't have to find it. You should not have to find it. You shouldn't be halfway through your game to know that you're having fun, or like, it's just, you shouldn't have to go so deep in a game to anticipate the fun. Like, I just feel like it should be simple, and like a deck of cards proves that. You can have so many different things that happen so quickly and pay off, or you get close enough, because a lot of card games don't require a ton of build up, you know. So fun should be very, very simple. But
I think that's good advice.
Go on that for days.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good topic.
Yeah, you can go on that for days.
All right, Desiree, anything else?
Yes, one more. So what are a couple of your favorite board games that cannot be played solo, if any?
Oh Lord, ones that cannot be played solo. No.
That's a tough question. So for me, at least, while you're thinking about this, you think about that for a second. For me, I think it's so situational. Like, I'm going to have an awesome time playing Wingspan with my sister and my mom, because it's a little bit lighter. They can really get into it. They love all the birds. We can talk about what we saw in our backyard that day. But if I'm playing with, say, like my husband, we're going to put Escape Plan or On Mars or something like that on the table and have a blast with it. Whereas I would never have fun playing one of those with my sister. So it's interesting thinking about what are your favorite games, because I think it does just depend on what experience you're looking for. And the experience that you have is partly determined by the people that you're playing with. And if they're not having fun, then even if it's your favorite game in the world, you won't necessarily be having fun. So that's my thought about it, at least.
So games that I can't play solo. Now, I can't. Like, I love Lacerda games. I could talk about them all day. Snow Dungeon behind me, fantastic game, great game. Gotta play them. I can play them solo. Games that I can't play solo. This will show you how I'm way off on range here. I have Meeple Circus. I just love to play that game. I love watching people play that game. Sticky Chameleons is another great example. And then we go smaller. Rocky Road a la Mode. I don't know if you've ever played that one. It's such a fun little game. Oh,
I've heard of it. I haven't played it, though.
Tournament of Camelot. That's a really good trick-taking game. Campy Creatures. Absolutely amazing.
That's a good one. I like that game.
Absolutely amazing. Pioneer Days. I just like that. It's actually like, it's a good version of Oregon Trail. And I just like abstracts. So like Quarto, Squadro, Pylos, those things. I like abstracts too. Like, those games, man. Like I said, man, fun should be simple. Oh, Yokohama. You can't play that solo. Oh gosh, I love that game. Woo.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
one
a
too.
good one. Oof.
We are so lucky. There are so many good board games right now.
There are so many good. I feel like I came in at the right time. Like, it feels, it's so many of them. And that's why I tell people, you know what? I'm going to say this, and it sounds like I'm kissing you guys' butts, but that Gates of Delirium, that one that you showed me, that game is awesome. Like, that one's an awesome one. And I was like, I don't know. That one's awesome too. I'm just looking at them like, that actually is a very, very fun game that I really quite enjoy. And then I lost my train of thought. So there you go. That's what that is.
Yay, games.
Yay, games. But yeah, there's a lot of great games right now. I mean, what did they say? 6,000 games a year or whatever they give us an arbitrary number. But you know, honestly, like, that's why I tell people when they say, man, do you like all the games? I'm like, do you understand how many games that I play? And they are good. That's the problem. Yeah. They are good. I actually could get you a whole bunch of games that you would love to play. But guess what? I can't even cover them all. Like, some publishers send me their entire lineup. guess what? I play them. I can't talk about all of them, but I can let you know about all of them. And I think that's what people don't understand is like there's just so many good games. There just really are. It's just all I can tell you is that when you walk in the store, most of the time you're looking at a game that's okay or better. Most of the time, because they're fun. They prioritize the fun. You know, they prioritize the fun.
That is a good thing about retailers. They have already limited it to games that are good, and you can be pretty safe buying almost anything.
They're pretty picky gamers like us, you know, just like everybody else. So there you go.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I don't want to steal too much more of your time, and I really appreciate all of our listeners hanging out with us, asking great questions. So thank you so much, Jeremy. We love having you here. Hopefully we'll have you back again soon. And have a wonderful, wonderful weekend to you and everyone else. Thank you all for coming.
So much, party people. Take care. Thank you for listening to me yak on. So there you go.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.